Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, I'm Fariba and I love sharing fun and easy knitting tutorials. In my previous videos, I covered the basics of one color and two color brioche knitting, both flat and in the round. If you haven't seen them yet, I recommend watching those first as we won't be going over the brioche stitch pattern again. Instead, I'll introduce you to brioche increases and decreases, the key technique for creating scrolling brioche patterns. Let's jump right in. Here I have prepared a very simple design for this demonstration and I'll go through the details quickly. The first pattern you see here is created using a right-leaning decrease, while the second one here features a left-leaning decrease. These are sometimes referred to as brioche right or left slanting decreases. The stitches in the middle are increased, which can be worked one at a time or even two stitches into one. All of these intricate looking spirals are actually created using just these simple increases and decreases. Now in this flat knitting sample, I have worked a couple of rows in brioche before adding the design. I did two decreases previously and now here I will do another decrease to cut this line here. For this, we always work over these three stitches. First a brk, then a single stitch, and the second brk. Before that, I'm gonna do my slip one yarn over. Always there will be one SL1U before decrease or increase. For right slanting brioche decrease, knit the first two stitches together, including the yarn over. To make this easier, I'll use my needle tip to loosen the stitches slightly before knitting them together. Now I transfer the stitch back to the left needle. Next, I slip the second brioche knit stitch over the transferred stitch, along with its paired yarn over. And you can see this line is leaning over these three lines here. Now I'm going to transfer to right needle. Next, I have a straight line. I'll knit normally. Here I have two brioche stitches, one of which was previously increased, so I'll work them both as normal brioche stitches. Then in the middle, I will add one increase. In brioche knitting, increases and decreases don't always have to be worked in the exact same row. Since brioche has a super stretchy structure, as long as they are placed close enough together, the fabric will still hold its shape without looking flimsy. For an increase, knit into the brk stitch, but do not drop it from the needle. Yarn over, then knit into the same stitch again. This creates an additional set of stitches, including the yarn over in the pattern. This technique can also be repeated multiple times to add more stitches depending on the pattern. In the next row, follow the established pattern, treating it as a setup row. Increases can also be done in a purl stitch using the same technique, just purl instead of knitting. I place this increase in the middle, which means I will now offset everything to the left side. As you can see, I had three brioche lines before the left leaning decrease like the other side. I usually work decreases and increases on the right side with the main color, but not always in the same row. Sometimes I space them out across a few rows. Now for my left leaning decrease sample, we will be working over three stitches again. First a brk, then a single stitch followed by second brk. First, I'll do my SL1U. Next, slip the first brk knitwise to the right needle. Then knit together the single stitch and the second BRK with its yarn over. Finally, slip the first BRK over the new stitch. And that completes the left-leaning decrease. Pro tip to remember the difference between right and left slanting brioche decreases. Focus on where the knit together happens within the 3 stitches. For a right slanting decrease, the knit together is on the right side, while for the left slanting decrease, knit together is on the left side of the 3 stitches. Now that I have reached the end of my row, I'll switch to the other color and work until the middle to show you how to finish the the increase we made in the middle section. Now I'm at the middle where I previously increased 1 stitch along with its pair. I'll treat these 3 stitches just like any other stitches in the row. The only difference is that they act like a setup row, meaning they establish the structure for the following brioche pattern. Now let's take a look at another sample, this time worked in the round. As I mentioned earlier, these techniques apply to both flat and circular knitting in the same way. For this demonstration, I have created my own custom design. While it's not perfectly prorated, it still has a beautiful flow and texture, showcasing how brioche increases and decreases create stunning patterns. For this hat, I have a full tutorial covering the entire first section with all the details you need, choosing the right size, casting on for a perfect fit, and achieving a seamless symmetrical finish. I will put the link below. I go through this quickly. First, I worked the straight pattern for about 7 centimeters before starting my first decrease here. Then I did one left leaning decrease every 10 stitches or every 5 distinct lines of the brioche pattern. I wish I had spaced them out over 6 lines instead to achieve a more symmetric pattern. Since my total stitch count was 48 lines or 96 stitches, since I worked over 5 lines, I ended up with fewer lines remaining at the connection line. Honestly, I loved how it turned out, so I didn't undo it. I just continued and adjusted as much as possible. Next, I did another round with the contrast color, and in the following round, I decreased 1 stitch in each section. In the same round, I also increased 1 stitch here. As you can see, the increases and decreases don't perfectly balance out, but the pattern still looks great. That's one of the advantages of this stitch that allows more flexibility. Next, I worked another round with the contrast color, and after that, I did the third decrease. This time I added 2 stitch increases here. Then I kept it straight for another 7 centimeters, where I began decreasing to the right. I followed the same pattern as before, decreasing 1 stitch in each section every other row. Or round, but this time without adding any increase. And here we have this stunning hat with traveling lines. I will continue to decrease and close the crown later. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and feel encouraged to try this beautiful design. If you have any question, I'd be more than happy to help you. Stay tuned and don't forget to share your creations.